name is Lamin Jai, and this is News Review. So, tragedy has struck as State House has revealed 52 Gambians died and 80 survived after a migrant boat that they were traveling into Spain ran into trouble and sank off the coast of Mauritania on Wednesday. Also coming up, that's China there through its embassy in the Gambia, has donated 5 vehicles to Kanifing Municipal Council. These and more coming up. But first, we will begin with a review of the newspapers. I have the Standard. I also have the Point. I will start with the Standard there. So today, Standard, the lead story there is reporting on Barrow there. That's a quote. Barrow is killing GDC in NBR. That's a quote there. Also, GDC NAM asked AG to stop BYM political activities. Also, Canada, Netherlands joined Gambia's fight for Rohingyas. Also, ECOWAS trained Gambians on financing mini-grids. We will quickly go through some of the stories there then. Former Jokadu chairman of the Gambia Democratic Congress, who recently resigned to join President Adama Barrow, has claimed that his former party is dying a natural death in the Nyomis. Usman Jallo, who claimed he left the GDC with his entire committee members, said they have decided to join President Barrow because we believe the GDC has no future. Speaking there, he said, I can vehemently tell you that 95% of GDC supporters in Jokadu and the Nyomis have joined Barrow, and the GDC is dead here. That's according to the former Jokadu GDC chairman there. Also, GDC NAM, that's the National Assembly member, asked AG to stop BYM political activities. The GDC National Assembly member for Lower Salum has asked the Attorney General to stop the Barrow Youth Movement from promoting President Barrow's political agenda because they are not registered as a political party. Omar Sise said, as a registered NGO, BYM is barred from conducting political office or activities there, sorry. Witness says witch hunters made him cry or carry human skull. Ali Mar, a survivor of Yaya Jammeh's witch hunting exercise in 2009, yesterday told the TRRC that he was handed a human skull by the witch doctors, which they claim was dug from the ground in his compound. Also, Canada, Netherlands joined Gambia's fight for Rohingyas. On November 11, 2019, the Gambia filed a lawsuit at the Hague, that's the International Criminal Court, demanding accountability on the systematic violations of the rights of minority Rohingya Muslims by the government of Myanmar. Following this, Canada, Netherlands, and the Gambia have agreed to form a tripartite joint working group to pursue the case. Also, ECOWAS trained Gambians on financing mini-grids. Representatives from the private sector in the Gambia and other agencies are learning how to finance operations and develop mini-grids. A mini-grid is an off-grid electric distribution network involving small-scale electricity generation. So that's all for Standard. The Point lead story there is also reporting on Canada, Netherlands joined Gambia to pursue Rohingya case at ICJ, that's the International Criminal Court there. Gambian beaten and robbed in Italy. Also, Barrow applauds new political parties. Lower Nyomi residents raise concern over citizenship. So let's see what some of the stories are saying. Foggia, okay, that's in Italy. A 26-year-old Gambian migrant was beaten and robbed by 4 criminals in Foggia on Saturday night. Police said the homeless man was robbed of the 25 euros he had with him. They said the victim was treated in hospital for slight injuries. Police are looking for the 4 attackers. Gambians were among the top nationalities living in West Africa for Italy in 2016. In total, 11,929 Gambians arrived in 2017. That's according to answer there. Also, Barrow applauds new political parties. President Adama Barrow applauded the establishment of new political parties that are grazing the country's political landscape. He described this as testimony to the dividends of democracy that came through efforts and sacrifices made in the run-up to December 2016. I think the president was speaking in the phonies there. So I think that's all for the newspapers. Let's go through some of the stories we have for you then. 52 Gambians died while 80 survived after the rickety boat that they were traveling into from Barrow to Spain ran into trouble and sank off the coast of Mauritania. It has been revealed So Europe-bound migrants numbering 150 last week Wednesday set off for Spain, but their boat ran out of fuel and capsized as it approached the coast of Mauritania. A top IOM official told the Fatu Network today. State House today issued a statement, that's today, Thursday afternoon, saying President Barrow has been briefed that the boat originated from Barrow, North Bank region, and 52 Gambians lost their lives, while 80 others survived. The Gambia government is working with the United Nations International Organization for Migration, that's IOM, and will dispatch a delegation to Mauritania at the earliest possible time to investigate and gather more information on the accident. President Barrow expresses heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and prays for the departed souls to rest in peace, a statement said. So the Gambia is the smallest country on mainland Africa, but thousands of Gambian youth each year leave the country, making it one of the most migrant-producing countries in Africa. Most Gambian youth do not believe they can enjoy better lives in the country, and as a result, they end up embarking on dangerous land and sea journeys to European countries like Spain, Italy, and Malta. The backway journey to Spain was discovered in the mid-2000s when Gambian youths in their thousands would spend weeks in the sea in their attempt to reach Europe. The journey is as deadly as the Libya one. We will now move on to our other stories then. China, through its embassy in Banjul, has donated 5 vehicles to the Kanifing Municipal Council. A handover ceremony was held at the KMC grounds on Thursday. More in this report.
Kanifing Municipality is the economic center and most popular city in the Gambia. Under the governance of the Municipal Council, headed by Lord Mayor Bensouda, Kanifing has been developing fast, and the people's living standard has been improved continuously. However, due to historical reason and the lack of resources, the city is still has a long way to go in order to meet people's increasing demands for better municipal services. So last month, I felt very sorry upon hearing the news of tragic affair that happened in the industrial area of Kanifing and caused property loss. So I sent my colleagues here to discuss with our with the Lord Mayor Bensouda and our KMC friends to see to provide our help for the city's development. So to assist the municipal council further strengthen its capacity in emergency response and in providing quality service to its residents, and to complement efforts by the council and the Kanifing people in creating cleaner, better urban environment. The Chinese embassy has decided to donate 2 skip trucks, 2 pickup trucks, and 1 SUV to the KMC.
But definitely when the People's Republic of China ambassador invites you, you must go. Because of the shared history between the People's Republic of China and the Gambia, as the ambassador rightly said, which spans from the 1970s and 80s. And since then, we have learned a lot and we have benefited a lot. The People's Republic of China is a country that looks at other third world countries or developing countries and looks at them as partners and sees opportunities in them rather than ways of exploitation. And we have seen this evidence in the Kanifing Municipal Council. Since I came into office, we have had 6 councillors and 5 staff gone on capacity building trainings. As we speak, we have 3 councillors in China and 1 staff. 2 are doing urban development training, and the other 2 are doing IT capacity building. And every day we get feedback of the friendships they're creating over there in China and the hospitality they're receiving. and we are very grateful. In our last General Council meeting, one of our councillors who recently benefited from human resource development training gave us a crash course about how China leapfrogged from where it was in the 1960s under Chairman Mao to now one of the most developed and the fastest growing major economy in the world under His Excellency, the President, Mr. Xi Jinping.
Kanifing municipality is.
And now, Talib Ahmed Bensouda became mayor of Kanifing municipality last year. At his inauguration, the highly rated young politician promised to turn around the fortunes of Kanifing municipality by first of all resetting the Kanifing Municipal Council, making it service-oriented. After almost 2 years in office, Mayor Bensouda spoke to the Fatun Network today on his work, his party UDP, the raging 3 years Jotna issue, and President Adam Barrow. I will be signing out. We will be back on Monday, of course, but we will leave you with this interview. Thank you very much. Until then, my name is Lamin Jai. My name is Lamin Jai. So the Gambia is churning a new generation of leaders that this country would depend on for its future and development. And one man whose name continue to make the list every single time is Talib Ahmed Bensouda. Mr. Bensouda, of course, is the mayor of Kanifing municipality, and he will be speaking to me. Mr. Bensouda, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to us today. And I think this is the first time you speaking to us one-to-one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lamin, and welcome to the KMC.
So, thank you, Mayor. Let me begin by asking you, when you came to office in 2018, you vowed to turn around the features of this municipality. Of course, you said you were going to ensure this council becomes service-oriented. That would mark a departure from what obtained. This place used to be called a political bureau. Have you achieved this coming to 2 years now? Have you achieved this?
Thank you for the question. I think I would say yes. It's a work in progress. However, since I came into office, which was May 2018, exactly 1 year, 5 months ago, I think there's been a remarkable change in KMC as far as the administrative structure goes, as far as the increment in services we provide. Everybody would notice, of course, that waste management has made great strides. Also street sanitation, as well as the service-oriented nature of our staff. We are trying to build a professional workforce, a service-driven workforce, a highly motivated workforce. So KMC is changing. It's not where we want to be. However, we've just been in office for 18 months, and there's a long way to go. But I like what I see. We have councillors who are highly motivated, very young, energetic, passionate. We also have an administration that is starting to see and understand what it means to be a public servant, the sacrifice it takes and the commitment and the ability to really lay on the ground and let people walk over you. Public service is not easy, as I lamented before our interview, and I think one should be in it for legacy and fulfillment rather than personal gratification or development. So it's a work in progress, and we are very enthusiastic. We are seeking the partnership of the public. That's the most important thing. We want public buy-in to our efforts. For example, we had the 500 street bin initiative, and we're using youths to come up with ingenious ways to create garbage bins. However, if pedestrian on the road refuses to use the bins and throws the garbage in gutters or on the floor, then it becomes difficult to achieve our goal. So we are really banking on the public to really see our vision and really buy into our whole dispensation.
What waste management there, it's one thing, but there are a whole lot of other things, other needs that people who live in your municipality
Absolutely.
need. In the past 18 months,
Yeah.
tell us, what have you done in terms of the needs of people, in terms of, for example, housing?
Yeah.
This is a huge municipality.
Yeah.
The urbanization has put a lot of pressure on your municipality.
Right.
Talk to us about that. Take us through some of the activities that you've done in the area of, for example, housing.
Right. So the municipal council, as it is today, doesn't have a very wide mandate. And these were some of the things we were trying to change when we came into office by approaching the central government, including the local government select committee in parliament, that we want amendments to the act. When we look at neighboring councils in other countries, we see that they have a housing mandate. We see they have a mandate on education, on health services. But in the Gambia, our mandate is very limited. It's very focused on waste management.
Just waste management.
And not much really. And we would like to see that change. However, that change also requires that government is ready to decentralize revenue. When you look at, for example, in other countries like Canada, where I studied, the provincial government and the city government share revenues with the federal government. So something like sales tax, where 9% goes to the city government, 6% goes to the federal government, things like that. When you look at hotel boarding in Madison, if you rent a room in a hotel, you pay municipal tax, you pay utility tax. The reasons for all of this is to give local governments enough finances so they can provide these very vital services of education, housing, health, because they're best positioned to provide it. We have councillors who live within the communities. We have a mayor who lives within his municipality, and we are local, and that's the whole essence. We are closer to the people, we can better serve their needs. So in housing, for example, even the rent tribunal, which was on the KMC a decade ago, is no longer under the municipal control. So it becomes very difficult if you're if you don't have access to sort of more taxes, and then you're expected to take up more responsibility.
Yeah, but because a lot of Gambians out there, or a lot of people, residents of your municipality, the mindset is that it is KMC that is responsible for such issues of rent, for example.
Absolutely.
People are complaining, saying the rent is going up. What is the KMC, for example, doing about it?
So we are here as politicians or people elected into office. We have little executive power as local government. And I think this was a deliberate effort by the former regime who wanted to concentrate power in the center. But now with this new dispensation, we expect that there must be an intention to decentralize power. Even if you look at our neighboring Senegal, mayors have, or councils have a lot of these mandates. So I think it's about time the government makes a deliberate effort to decentralize. Like I said, the rent tribunal, which was previously on the KMC, is no longer on the KMC. We want to be in a position, of course, to provide these services. Housing is one of the biggest issues in our municipality, is one of the top priorities of our electorates. KMC is the most densely populated region. Of course, there's a lot of urban drift, internal migration from the rural areas into KM.
Of course.
We have a lot of immigration from other countries. KMC also has a high birth rate, so we are coming to a point where all the services of the city are under pressure. Also, infrastructure is under pressure, housing is under pressure. I always say at this point in time, KMCians should have been building upwards. People from the Kanifing municipality should have been living in apartments, in high rises.
That's in what obtains in other municipalities, in other countries.
Exactly, in other urban centers or other cosmopolitan areas. So this is something we had hoped we would have influence in. I went to, well, not a sister city, but a city we were working on to be our twin city in Belgium called Massik. They have a housing corporation called ONSDAC. Now, this housing corporation is formed and owned by several councils. So it's a small city, 25,000 people. So they've partnered with 4 or 5 councils and formed this housing corporation. And what the housing corporation does is it invests in public housing. It invests in council houses for people who would otherwise struggle to find housing on their own.
people who don't are low income. And UNSDAC purpose is to make sure that it is affordable. But guess what? They have a lot of support from central government. They have loans from central government to build these houses at -1% interest. Meaning if they borrow $100, for example, they will pay back 99. And this is all to ensure that the person at the bottom of society, people who we tend to forget, are protected. So I think there's a lot this government can learn from areas and countries where it works, and to understand the essence of local government. We believe local government is more important than central government because we can have a direct impact on the quality of life of people. They are a bit further. They think about macro issues. We think about micro issues. What the food on the table, the waste being collected at your door, the road that runs right in front of your house, the street light that comes up in your neighborhood. So I think they must understand that and give the necessary support.
So as things stand, it appears your area of focus or concentration is waste management.
Yeah.
So in that area, then let's talk about what you have done. We have seen a marked improvement in terms of waste collection in the municipality. There were projects that were rolled out in the recent past. Take us through that.
Right. So I wouldn't say our role right now is just limited to waste management. There are things we can do. So I'll just run you quickly, then answer your question. So the priority areas right now is waste management because it's directly related to health and the livability of a city. But second in our priority is municipal transport, public transport, which we are working very hard to implement sometime next year. We've set up a task force. We're working with central local government players, and we're hoping by next year we can bring a solution. Also, very high up in our priority is market expansion. KMC is the commercial capital of Gambia. We want to be in a position to provide enough market spaces for our mothers and really people who don't have full-time employment or gainful employment. They can make a living. And we don't want people to sell on the streets, which can cause a lot of hazards and disorganization. But we want to give them a solution in market. So we've set up a task force looking into that. We've also set up a task force looking into GIS and addressing systems in the municipality, which we think is vital for any country. And also we are working on infrastructure in general. We have very limited resources, and as you know, infrastructure is capital intensive. This is roads, gutters, sewage, etc. So these are all in works. If we can't do it by the end of our mandate, maybe we'll come back and do it, or someone else would. But it's important that to get these things started. So these are some of the things we are working on, and these are some of the things we can do. Now, in terms of waste management, of course, we've made great strides. The evidence is every day in the street. For the first time, the municipality has far-reaching waste collection at residences and businesses. Now, the concept is through a PPP, meaning we don't have resources to buy these capital intensive trucks. So why not come up with a fee that people can afford and wouldn't really feel, but cumulative, it would be enough to really plow back and pay off this capital. We started in August. We awarded the contract via a public tender through GBPA approved contracts committee. We did all the 9 yards, council approval, etc. And we are working with Q Group. So we bought the trucks. It was 19 trucks. The idea was every ward will have a truck, and they would service the people within that ward. Now, we started in August. First month, we were at 5,000 collections, if I remember. Second month, we were at around 40-something thousand collections. And the last month we checked, we have reached 100,000 collections, meaning 100,000 homes were serviced during this period. When I say 100,000, you divide by 4, meaning once a week. So meaning 25,000 homes are serviced every month, meaning they are collected once a week. Calculation is we have been able to collect 500 tons a day, which would have otherwise gone into streams, illegally dumped in different illegal dumping sites, or in unfinished houses, whatnot. So we have managed to collect waste exponentially month on month. However, we are not where we want to be. We want to have 90-95% coverage. But our municipality in many areas is unnavigable. You have very tight roads, unplanned areas where people live on swampland. So access becomes a problem with our trucks. So we are looking at ways to be sort of innovate. How do we work with the Donkey Cart Association who can easily maneuver through those streets? Since now we are dominating the main areas and they are pushed to the fringes, how do we ensure their rubbish makes it to the official dump site? So the collection has come a long way.
So this waste, where does it end up? Because what we have seen is that this is a huge arrondissement, huge municipality. And then the amount of waste that is churned or that is generated is massive. Where does it end?
So this is the unpopular side of my story. So the waste, of course, ends up with Bakote dump site, which is everybody's nightmare. And I, as mayor, when I lose sleep, I always lose sleep about two things: Bakote dump site and Serakunda market. These are the flashpoints, and hazards or emergencies will come out of these places anytime. So Bakote dump site is one of the biggest hazards in this country, if not the biggest, and it's something I am very passionate about solving. So what we've done as well, I did not mention it earlier because it's about waste, is that we have set up a task force. Now this task force, again, is with NEA, Ministry of Environment, local government, and private sector players. And they have now sent out an expression of interest. You might have seen it in the newspapers. We have had about 8 to 9 companies who have responded. What we are looking for is a company who has the technical expertise, who has the capacity and financial capital to really invest in a waste processing plant. A waste processing plant that has mechanical sorting. When the waste comes in, it separates the metal from the wood, from the paper, from the organic waste. And also that would engage in various value-added activities, such as composting, such as biogas, potentially biofuel. At first we looked at waste to energy, but given we need NAWEX partnership and we don't know really if they can take up any new megawatts, we said, okay, let's just go with basic waste processing for now, and the future might open up other opportunities. What we're interested in now is how to limit or eliminate the hazard at Bakote dump site. But first you need a facility. This is what short-term strategy is.
What are you doing in that respect? The issue of you looking for, because Bakote is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for especially those who live around that. It's really, it's pathetic.
Absolutely.
What have you done in respect of that, looking or scouring for a facility?
Yeah, so that's where we are. We've had the expression of interest. We have 8 interested players. So we have to go through the red tape. I, as mayor, can't just go look at Lamin because I like him and give him a contract and tell him to come operate in Bakote dump site. So this is why we set up the task force with the government players who are responsible. Then we advertise the expression of interest that whoever is interested in a waste processing facility, please let us know. So we have 8 interested people who have submitted. Now we've written to GPPA, Gambia Public Procurement Agency, to approve the procurement process we should go through. Should we limit our procurement to these 8 players, meaning that's a restricted tender, or should we open it up to a public tender that would be advertised on the newspaper and then more people would respond? But the intention is we don't just want to get anybody, we want to get somebody who would solve the problem. At the same time, make money from it. At the same time, the council also benefits from it. But most importantly, that the hazard that is affecting the respiratory system of people in Bakote, the water table of people in Bakote, the just natural environment from the flies to the smoke, etc., that is completely eliminated. But something that has been around 30 years is not going to be an overnight solution. So we've been here for 1 year, 6 months. We've made a lot of background work, but nothing concrete yet, to be honest. We've had partnerships such as the University of Wisconsin, where their landfill engineering class came here to test the water and do some studies. They're also helping on that side of the Atlantic. We've also had a company called SCS Engineering based in Madison, who have also come here to do studies. We have had a UNDP-sponsored feasibility study So it's a lot of background work that is being done.
One proposition that is out there is the issue of doing away with that dump site, moving it, looking for a place where this dump site can be moved to and then this dump site, because it is in the midst of residences, in the midst of
that is the homes. Eventual solution. The reason that cannot be done immediately, the West Coast region is the potential and closest place where dumping can happen. But I don't think anybody in West Coast wants a new Barcote dump site in their backyard. As you know, now most of the West Coast region is occupied. So we want to do things responsibly. We want to ensure that whatever landfill we do choose, we have a partner that can engineer it. So in the US, for example, the dump site where I was invited to, the landfill, is an engineered landfill. There are residences around, but they barely notice there's a landfill around because they've excavated it. They have put a membrane at the base to prevent leakage from poisoning the water. They've made sure that it is, every time it is full, it is covered, it's gotten from it. Any area that is full to the brim, they make sure it is covered and grass is put on it, so the entire neighborhood doesn't even know there's a landfill around. So if we are going to get into landfills, I don't think anybody wants us to start dumping somewhere else, and eventually there's a future Barcote somewhere. True, politically it's convenient for me. Stop dumping in Barcote, start dumping somewhere else. But I don't think that's what we want as a nation. We want to do things responsibly. So Barcote is a problem which we intend to mitigate now, but long term is to move to an engineered landfill. So our solution now, find a partner today who has the same plan. Use Barcote now. Eventually it will be a transfer station where you take waste for onward transport after sorting, but also work on an engineered landfill where the processing now is done. So there was a place identified by the Ministry of Local Government around Jambanjeli of the new highway. As soon as people heard it, guess what? Jambanjeli residents were up in arms. Nobody wants rubbish in their backyard, and we understand that. So this is why we have to take all stakeholder interest factor it and ensure whatever we come up with really does solve the solution, our problem, but permanently.
So now I'll bring you a bit back, still on the issue of waste management there. The Young Balit project, something that has markedly improved the waste condition of this municipality. But this is a huge project. Dozens of vehicles, waste trucks have been, brought. How much is involved in this project, monetary-wise?
So monetary-wise, this project cost exactly 105 million. Exactly. Dollars. So it costs exactly 105 million to be repaid over 3 years. That's the goal. So it is capital intensive. It has a lot of running expenses. We have about 70 staff who are working in the project, in the operations side. And in the back office, we have about 10 staff. So that's about 80 staff. And it does involve a lot of wear and tear. These are vehicles. They have maintenance costs. It does have fuel costs. So it's not a cheap thing. It's not an easy thing. It's innovative for us. We are not really learning from anybody. But it's a challenge. And every day we evolve and we bring up new solutions. We've tried things that we thought would work, and given our environment and conditions, we realize it's not going to work. So we've adapted really. But for the most part, it is highly successful as of now, and we intend to improve it. We've also bought council trucks directly, which have skips, because what we noticed was, even though we were collecting waste from residences, old habits die hard. Some people are used to dumping in illegal zones. Some people just want to dodge the $10, to be honest. As cheap as $10 is, or we think, some people find it expensive. And they would still want to dump at the riverine areas. And some people, the truck cannot access them. And that's most people who do dump illegally. It's because the truck cannot access
their
because
homes.
The nature of their areas. Like when you go to Ibo town or around Talinding by the riverine areas, you would understand that these are swamp areas. The ways the houses or the titles were issued, we unofficially sort of, people are settling there, and it's not well planned. So those people would just go and dump at the riverside. And it would bring a lot of adverse effects. In Joshua, they have crocodile problem now, because the crocodiles are coming after the food waste.
Yes.
So what we are doing is get a skip. This is a bin. Deploy it to a central area around these illegal dumps, where now when people come to illegally dump, we would be like, instead of illegally dumping, bring it to our skip bin. So we've deployed about 6 so far, with the intention to deploy 10 and more. And so far we've had huge progress. Now in places like Newtown, Old Bakau, people who would go around the beach and dump there are now thinking, it's better I stay at home and wait for the truck. Since when I go to the beach to dump, I still have to pay the same $10 at the skip. So we've put a security and agent around that area. So we've seen it be a deterrent to people illegally dumping. But we must understand that also this is all 3 months period. It's all very new. And we expect that Gambians would adapt. In 1 year's time, they would be so used to it that this would be a no-brainer, and illegal dumping hopefully will cease. But in these 3 months, it's been wildly successful in terms of the usage. We get a lot of calls from people that say they haven't seen the truck, or the truck has not come to their area, and we're still trying to improve, but the demand is there.
So the PPP Mbalit project there,
Yeah.
who is in charge of the finances, the revenue that is generated? Is it the council or the business that you are in partnership with?
So the business is a pure financier in terms of how the project is structured. It's a PPP model, where meaning they've taken a risk. They have financed these trucks. If something happens and the project does not succeed, there's no collateral. All right, and that's the risk on their side. We run the operations. Of course, they have oversight. They can find out if things are going well, and we pay to a central bank account that pays for the project. It's a project bank account. So all our income is centralized in that bank account. Any money we put in goes directly to pay for the balance. But we have control. And all the trucks are in the joint name of KMC and Q Group. So we are partners. But we control the prices, we employ the workers, we buy the fuel, we control the financings. All they have done is really provide the trucks based on specifications we jointly agreed on. So one of the reasons we went with them is Futon, the car company, made their way down to Gambia, and they did an assessment of our roads, did an assessment of the type of rubbish we collect, did an assessment of the dump site, and based on that they were built to specification, based on the terrain we are operating in. And this was one of the winning things for us. And they were the only partner who was really willing to put up the finances with no collateral, meaning they were ready to invest in us.
So
it was
only Q Group that came up with that?
There was other bidders, but it was only Q Group who was willing to invest. Everybody else wanted a direct sale. I'll give you the trucks, you pay me, end of story. So also, they're the only ones who had somebody come down here to assess our terrain. And based on the capacity we were looking for, they were the only one who really responded.
So was it an open tender, public tender?
It was an open tender on the newspapers. So it's funny to us when people say, oh, how did you just choose one person?
Yeah, because this is something that people say out there, the issue of cartels. People, there are some people, there is a clique. These are the only people who get all the businesses.
Absolutely.
And some people would say these are killing smaller, not so,
so what we would like
businesses.
Well, what we would like people to do, especially journalists, is to verify and do investigations. So if you go back to the newspapers, all it takes is counsel. Okay, you guys said you tendered. We are like, sure. Which date did you tender in the newspapers? We let you know. And then you go to the newspaper guy and say, newspaper guy, show me the paper of this date. You will see it.
That you will be able to
Secondly, you can go to GPPA. Say, GPPA,
yes,
did this council tender? And GPPA will tell you yes or no. What was the type of tender? Was it public or restricted? They will tell you yes or no. So we think that's what we need. But to answer your question, it was a fully tendered project, and it was a public tender. It was not restricted. People were given the chance to submit their bid. And to be honest, only, I believe, 2 or 3 submitted their bid, and only 1 was interested in the PPP model. Everybody wanted a direct sale. So there's many processes also to get to tender. We have a contracts committee. It is made up of experts in procurement who are not part of council, they're from the public, and we have councillors. You have to pass that stage before you can even get to GPPA. After you get from GPPA, now you need the council resolution to say, GPPA has said this, the council agrees. So it's not anybody, there's no centralized decision making. It's all various players and various stakeholders. And this is how we run our council. That's why I'm very relaxed. I have surrounded myself with experts. I have surrounded myself with committees. As you can see, just not long ago, I got Dr. Ismail Assisi and say...
Yeah, we will get to Dr. Ismail Assisi. You mentioned him, but we will get to Dr. Ismail Assisi. Yes.
So we've also now, even with initiatives we want to do, I've set up task forces to come up with the concept and the idea. Even the idea stage, I've come up with people. Because what we realized with the other projects, it was limited to just committees, GPPA. Yes. But now, even at the idea stage, we want expertise. So this is why I've set up 4 task forces to come up with that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, still, this is still tied to the issue of waste there. Serakunda market, one of the places that generate a lot of waste.
Too much.
There's a lot of people there. The place is congested. All the women, I mean, that's the go-to market in this municipality. And it is causing problems. In terms of the roads are blocked. It's extremely difficult for people movement-wise, for people and goods to move. What is your council doing?
So with Serakunda market, people were so used to selling on the road, it became a habit. Serakunda market became a place for Lumo. You would have people from all over Gambia, really, coming to sell at Serakunda, West Coast region, you name it. I've even heard stories of people crossing the ferry from North Bank to come sell at Serakunda market. So it became sort of anarchy. You could come set up anywhere, sell anywhere, block any road you choose. So this is the way I found it. It's been very difficult. When I came in, I only had 40 municipal police officers. There was no enforcement to really help me. Central police were a bit reluctant because I guess to some degree the women had overpowered them. And it took a lot of political courage because some of these women, most of them voted for me. But I told the IGP, and he was sitting where you were sitting, I said, what's right is right, the law is the law. If everybody took the law in their hands, this country would end, really. So what we said is, okay, let's get the police first. Meaning let council recruit police, because we needed to build our police force.
Because that was what is called municipal police.
Exactly.
It was scrapped.
And brought back by Barrow, but I found a very limited number
of people.
So I had to expand that and strengthen that. So the other issue is with the market, the space inside the market is plentiful, but it's not structured. There's a lot of people using the market as a storage area. A lot of people left abandoned fridges and whatnot inside the market. So we need to create access and we need to create space to accommodate more people. So what we said is, okay, we'll start our operation, clear the roads. We thought we had done sufficient enough for everybody to fit in. But once that operation started, they were successful in clearing the hospital road that leads to Sandika.
Yes.
And that's one of the burning issues because emergency vehicles can't even make it to the hospital. We've had incidents of women giving birth in taxis. Imagine somebody was in a life or death situation and was going to the accident emergency area. So what we were saying was, clear that road is very vital. Another road that is very vital is Mosque Road. We cleared that road. Another road that is very vital is the road they call Guigi.
Yes.
We cleared that road. Now the last road, which is proven difficult to this day, Latkumbolo Road, The officers went with a joint force to clear it. They were nearly successful. And then all the women could not fit in the market. So the few that were left instigated sort of, I wouldn't say a demonstration, but an upheaval of some sort. And when they came on the road, the rest came out. So the markets work in such a way, when you sell on the road, you prevent a customer from getting inside the market. People inside the market lose. So when one person sells in the road, everybody comes out to sell or send somebody to sell on their behalf. So it's something that we must not compromise. We must ensure that everybody stays in the market, because that is the place to sell.
You must not compromise, you say. But how does it play out? What do you do when you clear these roads? Do you use force on these women?
We do not use force, and this is why you have not heard it in the media. But we have to be firm. And we have.
What does that mean when you say?
Having to be firm is speaking with authority, telling them what they need to do, and there's no way out. Today we'll negotiate, but tomorrow there's a potential to enforce the law. But we have not used force.
Mayor, do you realize that somehow have complaints saying this police would descend on them, tear down their tables, you know, throw away their wares? You
are the first to give me that feedback. But it's not something we would encourage. But look, we want people to sell and make money. But we cannot have people also taking the law into their own hands and doing what they like. The market is there for people to make money and sell. It's one of the cheapest markets. You pay $10 a day duty, even store rent for a month. Some are 500, some are 1,000. The most expensive is 2,000, 3,000 a month. And this is in the heart of Serekunda. This is the hub. So council is doing everything to ensure that people can make money. But markets also have capacity. Just because you want to be in London city center doesn't mean you just go and sit on the street and start selling. You have to find a place to occupy and you have to pay the rent. So we're doing everything to accommodate them. That's why I said for us to be successful, we need public buy-in. They must understand sitting there and making money, good for you, but terrible for everybody else. And Serekunda is not a pure market. It's a market mixed with residential areas. They set up in front of people's houses and people have to negotiate to go in and out of their house. And the worst thing about street hawking, when they're done selling what they're selling, they throw everything on the ground and they disappear. So these markets are littered completely, day in, day out, people's homes. It's a sanitation nightmare. It's an emergency nightmare. Security trucks cannot go in, emergency vehicles cannot go in. And they forget also the market is a place where goods are dropped off and taken. So you have the Wholesalers Association who came here as a delegation and said, our businesses are dying because our distribution vehicles cannot go in and out. So if we all want to serve our individual selfish interests at the expense of everybody else, this country cannot move, it will fail.
So, and the one thing that cannot also be disputed is the fact that almost everyone that sells at the market pays some sort of a tax. What are the services that you provide for these duties, if you like, if you can call it that? What are some of the services that you offer these people?
So if you're selling in the market, you're paying $10 a day. That's the tax you're paying.
Yes, that's the.
So we spend way more than we get from the market. And this is the fact.
In the upkeep of the market?
In the upkeep of the market, maintenance, in sanitation, in security.
Do you have good toilets?
Electricity. There? We have good toilets now at Serekunda Market, which they're paying $1 to their committee to use it, and that's how they raise money for their committee. So, I mean, they must understand that the market is for them. I don't have a space in the market. I've never heard of a councillor who has a space in the market. So we as politicians have zero personal interest in the market. Our interest is the public interest. But there must be order, there must be structure. You have a full market in Sukuta, completely unoccupied, totally abandoned. Everybody is in Tipagaras and Serekunda. I mean, if the whole country wants to sell in Serekunda and Tipagaras, it doesn't make sense. It becomes a problem. So we're also working on, like I said, the market task force, how to expand our markets to accommodate more people. But people must understand that everything must be done in due process and due time. you cannot come and get what you're going to get at the expense of everybody else. We understand it's a poor country. We understand people are struggling to survive. Cost of living is high. People have needs. But at the end of the day, if having problems doesn't justify breaking the law.
One thing that you rolled out, one project that you rolled out for these market women is, I believe, a $100 million loan program that you roll out for. Take us, because a controversial, very controversial,
everything is controversial.
Emotive project there. Yeah. How did you come up with this project?
So I did not come up with this project. So I think this is a misconception. At the project launching, I was not even there. And people have to make a distinction between the council and the mayor. The mayor is the head of the council, but he's not the council. So the financial service, Reliance, came here and said they wanted to offer the Dollar Jigen project to women, but they want to draw it to the council because we are closest to the people. We can best identify how to help the people or how to structure the programs. So they worked with the women councillor, the nominated councillor representing women.
But you are the head of this
council.
So
as far as there was no contract required, as far as there was no agreement required, as far as council did not have to take out any funds, then the mayor really, it's more of facilitation and there's no agreement. So
but this issue of facilitation, that is what people have problems
with. So if you,
people are saying this issue of a business belongs to your mother, well, and then you facilitated that project.
So look, I think that's a misconception. Businesses that belong to my mother, family members, or even myself, they are not prevented from bidding or doing anything in council. It's just that I should not be
called clash of
that's why I'm coming
conflict of interest in public administration.
The conflict of interest is if I, as a mayor, involve myself in those decision-making activities. That's why when somebody has a conflict of interest, they exclude themselves, they excuse themselves. So that's why I'm saying there's a misconception that the mayor is the council. This is me, my property, my councillors. I make all the decisions. No.
But don't you think they are right in a sense? Because the Gambian office is known as public officer, especially those at the top there. Public officers are synonymous with their institutions.
No.
In the Gambia.
Well, that's a misconception.
That is something that has occurred here.
And that's something we should change. So if my family member came here looking for work, does that mean as far as I'm mayor, none of my family members should work in KMC? Nobody I know should work in KMC. My friends should not work in KMC or have nothing to do with KMC. They all pay taxes to KMC. And they're all Gambian citizens. It doesn't matter who sits on the chair. What matters here is there's no conflict of interest and things are done the right way. There's no nepotism. There's no handpicking. There's no bypassing processes. But today, if you were one of my best friends,
someone would say,
if you were one of my best friends and you were the most qualified or the only doctor that can save lives in the Gambia, and KMC had to contract you, would being the friend of the mayor eliminate you? No. What would eliminate you if the mayor was pushing for you, even if you were not qualified? So I should excuse myself from all decision-making activities. And I think we're taking this very far because council has not contracted Reliance or paid Reliance a dime. Since Reliance left, Supersonics has come. We're currently working with Baber Financial Services. We've worked with many companies.
But don't you think the reason why a lot of people are frowning at this, Mayor, is the fact that, look, you are the head of this institution, and the better your relationship is with the people that you work with, and then someone comes looking for business, someone who is related to you, there is likelihood that your staff would appreciate that person.
And why is that? If that's the reason staff are doing that, that's their problem. But everybody knows my message. Everybody knows my message in this council. I don't give preference to anybody. I don't push for anybody. I make sure whatever I do is impartial and I can justify it tomorrow, because the number one thing that's important to me, Lamin, is my integrity and my legacy. I want to live here and be remembered for all the great things I have done or how far I have taken the municipality. I am young with a business and I can do many things. The amount of time I spend here is very valuable to any person, especially a young person, because now is the time we invest. But what my point is here, Reliance has come. They have worked with the Women's Council. Baber Financial Services is here. They're working with the Youth Council. But we have not committed any council funds. We have given no business to anybody. If anybody who is a tax-paying citizen or a business that is registered, or somebody, even if it's an immigrant but they're legally here, wants to come do business in KMC or get services from KMC or partner with KMC, it is their right. And no matter who you're related with does not mean you're excluded. It's the process. If the commissioner of police, his son wants to be a police officer and is really passionate about working for KMC and he wants to apply, is it because his dad is commissioner, that's why he can't apply? No, he can apply, but his dad will not be part of the interview panel. His qualifications will get him through the door. So this is what I'm saying. We cannot eliminate and pick and choose people based on the relations they have here. It's just the person with the relation should remove himself from the equation and should declare the relationship. When I came in here, you know what was a conflict of interest? My lawyer, the lawyer of KMC, was my brother and my mother for the past decade. But when I came in, that's the first thing I changed, because that is a conflict of interest. It is council coffers that are being paid directly to my family member. And that is something I declared in the council and is a resolution I passed in the council.
So it would be correct to say your relationship, your family's relationship,
because the council is directly contracting them and paying them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And even though I did not have to do that because I found them that way, I did not feel comfortable.
Mayor, how is the issue of corruption like in your municipality?
It is bad but improving. So corruption is one of the things that really has tarnished the reputation of KMC for a very long time. This is collectors skimming from the top, collectors going to business payers and negotiating the rates to have something in their pockets, or negotiating the business license to put something in their pocket. We've had all sorts of corruptions, market duty corruption. We've had municipal police corruption. And there are some prosecutions we have done, some charges we have made, but it is extremely difficult to eliminate it totally without the necessary investments in structures, checks and balances, systems. Without a system, it's difficult to really control what the human being does. And no matter how good of a human being you are, if you don't have structures around you to guide you, if you don't have monitoring, you might miss the road. Most cases than not. So since we've came in, we've tried to introduce as many checks and balances as possible with the system and the structure we inherited. And this is why we are really pushing for this GIS, because that's one of the things that is really holding us back. This municipality, since we're dealing with the public, and every member of the public is located somewhere, we need to know where you're located. Thus the need for addresses. We need to have every street addressed, every home numbered. And so when we say, Mr. Lamin Jai, the guy who owns Jai and Jai Sons, where is he? I can see number 5 Caraba Avenue, building so, this is the size of the business, this is how much tax he should pay. It is so bad, even with public finances. In the financial sector. If you want to go get a loan from a bank, if you're not a person everybody knows in the country, it's going to be very difficult. Because even when you go to the bank, they ask you to draw your home. You can't really tell them where you are unless it's a well-known building.
That becomes a problem.
Utilities. We've moved away from billing system and now we've come to prepaid system. Because nobody can identify where anybody lives. That's why you have cash power. Because the direct billing was just not working. You have telecoms. That's why you have credit. So our whole economy now is designed on a lack of addresses. Imagine now the tax base, because you can't really prepay tax. Tax is not something you use. The only way tax works is direct billing.
Yes.
So meaning we are not getting most of our revenues. And because we cannot identify where people are, if Mr. Njai goes, charges somebody some fake tax, takes the money, pockets it,
and
it will be difficult.
That problem is
persistent.
Yeah, it's persistent.
Yeah.
People go to people's houses and tell them, this number of years, for example, you've not paid tax.
Exactly.
And this is what
it's
you should
persistent.
pay.
It's persistent.
And people don't even, and this issue of not even issuing people with receipts.
It's persistent, but it's reducing. The reason it's reducing, one, thank 2016 elections, we're in democracy. Information easily goes around now. Thank social media, WhatsApp, people report a lot now. But also, it has improved largely because our municipality now has more enforcers, more police, more compliance people going around who have mobility now and can easily catch you off guard. But these are firefighting tactics. We have to make fundamental changes to the way this country is run in order to totally eliminate, or at least 95%.
And one thing that always comes along with corruption is the issue of mismanagement of resources, of funds.
That's also drastically improved. So with these committees, we have more checks and balances. With an improved procurement system, we have had a contracts committee which is highly effective. Any contract above 500,000, they have to approve it. It has to be tendered. It has to go to GPPA. Any contract below that amount has to be vetted. So these things have drastically improved the resources of council, and this is why you can feel the council services a lot more, because things are being used more effectively. We have an accounts committee that's also working on standardizing approved list of vendors, meaning no briefcase vendors, because traditionally what used to happen in KMC, Lamin Jai has no expertise in, let's say, medicine. And then KMC needs to buy some medicine, Lamin Jai goes to a pharmacy,
and
use a fake registered business, takes it from them at $100, he comes sells it to KMC at $200 and gives procurement manager $50. So all of those things are eliminated from this council. So the resources that do make it in our coffers are better managed. So I think that's something the public should be
Mayor,
happy
I
about.
saw you building a very big office complex.
Yeah. And you like it?
Well, how did that come about? When there are priorities,
right?
You have this very big.
Of course, your question always has to have something attached. But this building was planned via GAMWorks. As you can see, Banjul and Birkama have the same sort of building erected. It was a project that was planned before we came into office. So it was something that was already on paper, but we had to pay up the money because the council had already committed to it. So previous council commits, we have to honor. So that's the reason. But I think it's a good building. It's a town hall.
Some people would say it's a waste of resources.
Well, most of the money is not taxpayers' money. So 90% is from GAMWorks and international people who give grant, World Bank, etc.
But at the end of the day, Gambians would end up paying this
10%
back.
is
because this would be funded via loans.
If you could go and have an interview with the former council and challenge them, I think that would be the
that's fair enough. Fair enough, Mayor. In October, 2 months ago, you were in. I mean, it's not only in waste management. You mentioned the issue of public transportation and other areas that you also education. We've seen you travel to Madison where your plans are being perfected to get the council or the municipality a library. Tell us about this.
So this public library issue is something very close to my heart. I've always enjoyed libraries, and libraries are an area where people feel, especially children, protected, and an area where they could really go and focus on study. There's not really been any library, as far as I can remember, within Kanifing. Most libraries are within schools, especially private schools. Public schools don't have libraries. And the only public library is in Banjul. So we were thinking through our education committee, because they don't have a real mandate as far as education is concerned outside of Charles Jau. How do we bring something that the whole municipality can benefit from? And the idea came of the library. Also, since we started discussing the concept, we started doing research. So we had children from Bundung say, actually this is a great thing, because we used to study on the Bundung Maternity Hospital street lights at night, and the watchman would drive us away. We had students come and say, oh, MDI Road, we used to study under the street lights, on the MDI, especially exam periods. So we had other people say, we used to study in markets, on the public lights. So based on this, we say, okay, now this is a real need, and we have a story that we can really sell to get this public library. So we started working on concepts, and we started discussing with Madison Central Library, which is a sister city, and they said libraries have changed over the period. Libraries now are not just a place where people go just to read, but it's a place that reflects the interest of different people. So if you're interested in art, yes, it must reflect that. If you're interested in dance, it must reflect that. Graphic design. So if you're interested in just research and study, you can also have that. That's a standard library. They have gone as far as doing weddings in their library. For us, the African weddings and the way they are, that's not a go area. But even renting our rooms for seminars and symposiums and whatnot. So then our education committee, with seasoned educators on it, started designing this concept. So recently, when we went back to Madison, which we have an annual sister city event, we said this is going to be the focus this time. We're going to meet
at that event, yeah, Mayor, you spoke there, because this issue proved a little of a problem, yeah, because you went there and then, yeah, you sold a story, yeah, story that the whole municipality doesn't have a library where students can turn to when they want to study. Yeah. But the way it was said, the Cap Times, of course, yeah, a newspaper that's published in Madison, yeah, they reported that what you said at that event was, yeah, if you go to Gambia, students study on the street lights, yeah, and in public markets. Yeah. Was that what you said there?
So I think this is blown out of proportion, and courtesy of you and your network, yes, which is fine, yes, your reporters. Yes. Although I thought you could really say a lot about the project rather, yes, than just that one line.
Of course,
but in a nutshell, yes, I'm not blaming you. Yes. I know this is how it is in public life. Statements are misconstrued or, yes, misunderstood. Yes. But what I said was children is an example of the situation certain people study under. And it's not something I would claim that I have seen, but it's something that we were told. So we are.
So would you say you were misquoted by the Cap Times? Because the Cap Times quoted you, yeah, and the direct quote said, yes, you said that in the Gambia, students study on the street lights, and this is something that you need to do about.
I think it was generalized, or it was misconstrued or misunderstood. But the truth of the matter is, just like I said, we've had 3 different groups of students who have come and said, we support this, we think is a great idea. During exams, we would have to study on the street lights. We have staff who actually said they have had to study on the street lights.
Did you do any investigation as a way of really finding out whether this is true or not?
We are not there as investigative politicians or whatnot. We know we need
people's needs.
The question is
worth investigating. You don't think so?
I think the issue is, the question is here: do we need a library or we don't need a library?
Of course, we do need a library.
So
I live in this municipality.
This is the issue.
I am from Igbo town.
So one issue is,
I think I need a library.
Half the time you don't have light in your house. Then now it's improved.
Yes.
Even though we are still struggling.
Yes.
All right. Half the time you don't have a quiet place you can go to study. You understand? It might not be everybody is studying on the street light, but certainly some people are, because they've come up and said they had to do it, whatever the situation was in their home. So the fact of the matter is, this is true for some people or many people, maybe not for all people, but it's facts. You understand what I mean? So what we are there for is to see how we can get the funding. Okay, some people say, oh, Mayor is exaggerating to just make Gambia look bad.
A lot of people frown at it, of course. And for us, that was not the objective.
Look, the objective, they should not frown. They should be ashamed that Gambia in the 21st century only has one public library to boast of.
But culpability or blame should be that of the government, because the Gambian government has a responsibility when it comes to education in this country.
And this is why us as the newly elected people are looking at our priorities and saying, look, it's a shame in the 21st century, the whole Carnegie municipality with 500,000 people doesn't even have one public library. This is unheard of anywhere in the world. It's terrible. We should be ashamed.
Yeah. But some people are saying that in as much as you are in great need, need of this this facility, you should not.
We are not thinking about.
That is what some people are saying.
We are not thinking about people's feelings. We are thinking about the children in universities and schools who don't have a public library. This is not about how people feel or what they think. This is our commitment to serve the people. I mean, the rest we believe is just high politics. It's interesting. It's fun to talk about. But the bottom line is, I think they should wake up every day feeling ashamed or feeling worried that we don't have a public library in an area where there's about 120,000 students. And this should be the focus. Everything else is just noise and distractions. So what we are going to sell, or what we are really trying to do, is here how to get people to take out their hard-earned money to build a state-of-the-art facility in the KM that would serve for generations and generations. I am over libraries. I don't need a library. I'm done studying. Maybe my children might, and that's what we are fighting for. So I think we would like journalists like yourselves to really promote this library, so we can really bring the attention of people with deep pockets.
Some people said, of course, people who admire you, of course, they said what it was a deliberate attempt on our part, or on my part, since I was the author of that story, to ridicule or to make your this project fail. Do you agree to this? Do you subscribe to this?
Was it?
It wasn't at all.
Then I don't subscribe.
You don't subscribe. No. Okay, great. Now we can move on. Mayor, you belong to a political party, a prominent member of United Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Your party, of course, was in government, one of the key coalition stakeholders there, members there along the line. There was this bitter falling out with President Barrow. What is your assessment of your party at this moment?
Well, look, it's politics, you know. I think Gambia, we're not just used to being, we're not used to having, I guess, a fully democratic political atmosphere. But I mean, things like this are happening all over the world daily. Look at our neighbor Senegal. Their democracy is wilder. Their politics is much wilder. I think we're trying to learn and understand what it really means to be free, what it really means to subscribe to one party or another party, or to support one individual over another individual. So I think maturity of politics is starting, but we still have a long way to go. We need to understand that it's not personal. If Lamin Jai has an idea or believes in a certain philosophy or has a different value system from mine, I should respect that. But I also have my own belief system and value system, and he should respect that. And we argue for the greater masses who don't really subscribe anyway and convince them. But the way things are taken sometimes, I think we really have to change.
And this new democratic order vis-a-vis your party, UDP, a party that spent almost all its life fighting a dictatorship, and now all of a sudden we have this whole new order.
Well, look, I think the party is bigger than just fighting a dictatorship at this point in time. We have democracy. Now we are evolving, and we are moving from opposition to a party with policies and beliefs and ideas. And I think this is what Gambians want to hear. It's the most democratic party internally. We have a philosophy of inclusiveness and diversity. Sometimes it might not seem so. Sometimes it might not be projected by our militants. But from the core, this is the intention. And I think this is what we want to see our militants subscribe to and our supporters. That's why in the Bakau rally, what I said was, as a UDP member, if you want other people to come to our party and subscribe to our beliefs, then you must behave and act in that manner.
There should be this principle of tolerance.
You must be really the ideal citizen. You must be tolerant. You must invite people. You must also be an example. And I spoke even in terms of local governance, what we like to see. We want you to be the guys picking the litter up from the street. Be the guys who are fighting for, better living conditions. Not the guy who's turning away people, or the guy who's complaining, or the guy who's not really helping in national development.
Because people who belong to other political parties, for example, they would point at your members and say they are very belligerent, very aggressive.
I think it's unfounded, and I think...
so you think that is unfounded?
It's unfounded. Look, every political party, especially a big party like UDP, has all kinds of people. We have
all kinds
militant
of people, very militant when you say
people who've been through oppression for 22 years and have struggled. We have people who are intellects. We have young people who are hungry for change, passionate people. We have very moderate people who want to invite the whole world, but the vast majority are level-headed people, people who want to see not just any change, but good change in the Gambia. But what really comes out from our party is passion. When you see other political leaders come by, you would not see the same level of passion our supporters give our political leader. Because there's a belief, a supreme belief bigger than themselves. And they believe that he's the ideal person who can really bring permanent good change in the Gambia.
Don't you
where democracy is built in all our institutions, is a way of life. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in our party. I'm not saying the work is complete. I'm not saying we're a perfect party. But I'm saying in this point in time, we are best positioned to take Gambia where it needs to be. But it's a work in progress. But what I would say to all our supporters right now, they need to be the example. It is not time to be angry. It is time for ideas. It is not time to oppose. It is time for giving solutions and a different choice and a different path. And I always say we're not enemies with anybody.
What does the future hold for UDP?
I think there's a bright future for UDP. I just think there's a lot of young leaders coming up, many who are intellects, who have ideas, who are passionate, and they must be nurtured. And I think there are many people who want to come to the party, but maybe because of propaganda or because of poor branding, think otherwise. And I think they must be made to understand that this is a party that would accept anybody. I mean, in our executive now, majority, not majority, but a good number are ex-APRC officials. We have Honorable Suku Singate, formerly of Badibu, APRC official. Lamin Jamme, Teddy Boy, ex-APRC official. But these are all prominent people in the party now.
This issue too is also proving a little problematic for people who want to join your party. This issue of new faces emerging and new faces in strategic or key positions within the party. Some people are saying, oh, we have been in UDP for... These are people who have been members of, but along the line...
That shouldn't matter.
They fell out with the party.
In politics is moving. It's like quicksand. The ground is always shifting. And it shouldn't matter who comes first. It doesn't matter who comes first, who comes second, who comes last. Politics needs numbers. If you're going to say the people who come first are going to be the people on the top, I mean, what are you really trying? That's meaning you're closing your doors to the people. We want people of the highest integrity, people with the best ideas, the best intentions, the qualifications to be on the top.
But
just because you've been in the party for centuries, but you're not the guy with the greatest ideas, you're not the guy with the greatest qualifications, you cannot even run an office. We will not give you administrative secretary. If somebody else who's better, look, when you come to UDP today or you come tomorrow, you're the same in our eyes. There's no hierarchy of who's more important and who's not important.
And there is no stigma.
There's no stigma. That's why I'm saying what sometimes is said at the fringes of the party is not the reality and the intention of the core. But this is the nature of a big party. With a big party like UDP, you expect all kinds of individuals and you expect all kinds of agendas. What's important and what people should look at is who is Usainu Dabo, who's Antiyam Seka, who's Amadou Sane and Lamin Diba, who are the core members of the executive and what's their plan, what is their intention for the Gambia, and that's what should matter. And the party leader is coming up what he's calling the Little Yellow Book, which is a party policy on every aspect of governance and every aspect of the socio-economic dynamics of Gambia, whether it's youth empowerment, whether it's agriculture, whether it's women's affairs, and I think this is what people should start subscribing to. When you look at America, you talk about the Democratic Party. Everybody knows that Democratic Party is sort of socialist in nature. They don't believe as much in free markets. They believe in a little bit of government control. They're pro-choice. You look at Republicans, they are pro-life. They believe in pure market capitalism. You understand? Yes. And this is where Gambia should come to. It should be a political of ideas. Not that I ask you, hey, what's your name? You tell me Laminja. I say, oh, you're Olaf, you're Doi.
So, and then that's where the problem is, because I was going to ask you, come to the issue of tribalism. This is something that, I mean, some people, forward-thinking people would say it doesn't exist. But we talk about it every day.
It exists. Look, we have to be real.
In UDP?
It exists in the whole country. It exists in the whole country. And it's something that needs to be consciously battled. We need to come to a point where Gambians don't identify as their tribes first. They need to identify as Gambian. If you go to Senegal, most times you ask a Senegalese, what are you? They'll be a little confused. Unless you say, what tribe are you? In Gambia, when you say, what are you? They'll say, Alfula right away. I'm Jola, I'm Mandinka.
But don't you think that has to do with the culture? Because if you go to a country like Senegal, or you go to a country like Guinea-Bissau, for example, even though we have people belong to different tribes, but there is this one tribe, local language that almost everyone speaks. Don't you think that is why it is different in Senegal and in, say, Guinea-Bissau? Because in the Gambia, you don't have that.
In the Gambia, you don't have any particular dominant. But I think also it's because of the politics and the way it was done throughout the years. We've been practicing poor politics. And we need leadership, especially now. We need to move away from sentiments. Today, you should not support UDP because you're Mandinka. You should not support Doi because you're Olaf, or APRC because you're Jola. You should support their principles, their values, and what they stand for, and where they can take Gambia. And I think parties, all of them, should be challenged to come up with this. Or even I myself will lose confidence in politics in the Gambia. So we need to transcend tribes. We need to transcend where people come from. Even now, when you point at villages, someone can easily tell you what party they will support. I mean, we should move away from that, especially a tiny country like Gambia. We should be one homogeneous people with one value system, and we should identify as Gambians. And then when somebody really digs down and says, look, what's your heritage? And then you can tell them, oh, I'm Yola, this is this. And Gambians, we've come to a point where I think we're all mixed.
So now, Mayor, I will be lacking in care if I don't ask you about President Adama Barrow. Mr. Barrow, the former comrade in arms, someone you all belong to the same party, and then at some point the comradeship suffered a natural death. You know, there was a fallout. Your party fell out with him. You are mayor, and you belong to UDP. What do you make of his, you know, administration? 3 years, coming to 3 years.
Well, look, I think before I was asked, I gave my stance, but I think now it's become political, and it's up to the political parties to really discuss. I wouldn't want to delve in those issues. As a mayor, as a person with a position, of course, I would just say let everybody keep their heads together. Everything has process. If you want to demonstrate, go through due process.
You are mayor. We'll get to the 3 years. You are mayor, and you have a president. He is your president.
Of course.
He's your president. Are you impressed with what he's done in the past couple of years?
Look, if we were to judge, we'll say there's good and bad. There's things that need work on. There's a lot of room for improvement. But we can't deny there's some improvements. But I don't think this government has gone far enough and fast enough. But I think things are improving a bit. I would say in terms of power and electricity, things have improved. Nobody can deny that. But the reason I've said they've not gone fast enough and far enough, when a country opens up and becomes fully democratic, you really need to move fast because things come at you fast. So, for example, since 2016, there's been a population boom because a lot of people are coming home, a lot of people want to invest.
Yes.
And if you don't have roads enough, fast enough, if you don't invest in things fast enough, then you notice that everything starts crumbling and there's a lot of tension and pressure. So this is why I say we need them to be very proactive and forward thinking. But I wouldn't want to delve in national politics. I'm a local guy. All I would say is we want to encourage them
you are a politician
and support them. Well, I'm a politician.
You are a mayor politician.
I'm a mayor politician,
yes.
but I want to focus on local politics
Politics.
and leave the national politics to the executives. We are here to support the government. We are partners. We want to see areas where we can collaborate because we serve the same people. We want to see areas where we're going to partner. And we need their support also. So we want them to understand we are not competing. We are not adversaries. We may be from different political parties, but we serve the Gambian interest, which they do. So we don't want to delve into whether they are A status or B status or C status. That's for the political parties. We just want to make sure that the residents of KMC succeed. The residents of KMC get good services and get good development that improves their lives. And I always say this. We are in a council where we have 4 APRC councillors and 3 DOI councillors, but you barely notice. UDP is a majority, but we vote on issues, we debate, everybody is given a voice. We forget what political parties we come from. Because at the end of the day, wherever you belong, you're there to develop Gambia. If you're joining politics just to be in politics, then you're in politics for the wrong reason. You have to be in politics for the end result, which is to make Gambia better. So if we all meet as political parties or as people who are elected, we're already elected. People have already given their mandate to us. We must work together for the common interest. The next election, we go back to our camps and advocate. I think this is the maturity we need.
So
in
this
politics.
president, Mr. Mayo, came into office on a deal, a 3-year deal. He pledged to be in office for only 3 years. But what we have seen is that he has had a change of heart. He wants to continue beyond this month on early January. And then there is this entire protest demonstration looming for him to leave office. Influential citizen you are. First of all, what is your position when President Barrow came out and said, well, I said 3 years, but no, because of the projects that I rolled out and they are not complete yet, I'm going to continue. What came to your mind? How did you react?
Well, I did not really react. I think that's a decision of his, and that's what he wants to do, and it's completely fine. The protesters as well, that's their right. I mean, you have the right to protest. And I think let's just ensure that whatever we do, we take due process, we follow the law. I'm not going to say I'm in support of this camp, I'm in support of that camp. I say let us just all follow the law. Everybody has a right to protest. If you are not happy with the way things are going, you can protest. And that's your total right. And I don't think there should be any fear in protests. Protests are happening every day in democratic countries, and we claim to be a democratic country. Let people protest. Give them police support or protection. Let their voices be heard.
So you are saying, because these people applied for a permit, you are saying they should be
give it to them. I don't think, you see, I think Gambians fear protest, and it's not good. Protest is exactly what it means. Just look at the definition. I am protesting. When people say protest here, most people think it's riot. Now that's a totally different thing. A protest is not a riot.
And this protest has been politicized to the extent that a lot of people are saying these people are out to burn the country, set the country on fire.
And that is the job of the 3 years journal people to make very clear. What are you trying to achieve? You want your voice to be heard. You say you want the president to live up to what he said. Fine. But it must be done in a civil manner. I mean, this is a country that has law and must have order. You can do it in a civil manner, get your voices heard, get your numbers together, fine. But the president also has a right, because he's not breaking the law by staying. So it's a matter of your voice being heard, he's doing what he thinks is right, and then let the people decide. Now, if you protest, and he says he's not going to step down, then in elections, you try and convince people that, look, this president said he would step down, he didn't step down, let's not vote him in. And that's all we can do. This is why we have elections.
Really, I think if you were to advise the president, because it looks like there is a standoff between President Barrow, there is a great number of
I would say,
Mr.
President, just give a national address and explain, and people hear you, that's it.
So now, it looks like your municipality is where everything would start, because the 3 years journal people say they want to start at Westfield, which is just next to you, your office.
Well, look, as far as, like I said, they do it in an orderly fashion, they do it in an organized fashion, in a civil fashion, there's nothing wrong, and they don't cause any damage to public property or private property. That's their right, and let them get the police permit. I would encourage the IG and to just give them protection, ensure that it starts, the procession goes on, the media covers it, and it ends. But then it should not go beyond those activities. All right? I think when you protest, you want everybody to hear your voice so they can make a decision.
There are some people
but
who
the decision can only be made in elections.
Who are saying it's your party that is behind the 3 years judgment.
Well, that's just misconception. What the party leader said is, the president said 3 years, and he believes the president should live up to those expectations or those words. But he is not in support of 3 years.
Don't you think this whole problem was sparked by your parties?
There's no problem.
Parties.
I don't see 3 years.
Some would say flip-flopping.
I don't see 3 years as a problem. I see it as a political promise, and that's it. And like all promises, if it's broken, then you decide in the next election.
But the leader of your party, when he came out of in jail sometime in 2017, said he was going to drag anyone to court if you try to...
Yeah, but that's a question you have to ask him.
Yeah, but how about the party's position, which was made a few weeks ago?
And that's an executive...
And people are connecting that with 3 years judgment.
And it should not be connected. That's an executive decision of the party. Other parties would make their own executive decisions about what they believe the president should do. But they're not saying they're advocating for 3 years, or they're not saying what 3 years journalists should do. They're saying, okay, the coalition, we agreed on this, and we believe this is what the president should do. But it's a totally different. They're not protesting. UDP did not call for any protest. So I want everybody to understand. For me, what's most important is precedence. We don't want to set a dangerous precedent, because when today a mayor says, I am going to bring you municipal transport within 3 years, and I promise, and when the 3 years come, I don't bring the municipal transport.
That's betrayal of trust, right?
But are you going to come protest and kick me out?
I might come and protest.
You will wait till the elections and say, look, Mayor, you said this, I won't give you another chance. So I want the politics to be a little different. Protesting is a total right. They can come and protest and say, Mayor, you did not bring municipal transport. Where's our municipal power? We want our municipal transport. But then all they can achieve is getting their voice heard. They can't use force on the mayor. And that just becomes illegal.
They can call you a liar. They can call you a hypocrite.
That's fine.
They can call you that.
That's fine. I mean, I'm being called a liar, a hypocrite on some issues sometimes by some people. But that's democracy. This is what we ask for. We should not be afraid of noise. We should not be afraid of protesters or demonstrations. We should not be afraid of things like that, backlashes. But we cannot allow violence or destruction or unrest. So all I'm saying is, I have come into this office. In my first week, I faced a protest. I mean, early this year, I faced a protest by the boys from Serakunda. They came here in their hundreds. But what did I do? They were in the gate, angry. I opened the gates. And I met them face to face in the town hall. And I told them, yes, you're disappointed. Yes, I hear you. And these are the things I will try to do to fix the problem. And that was the
Are you suggesting that is the line that President...
You asked me if I'm going to advise the president what they should do. I would advise, go on television and tell people what you think.
So now, before I end this interview, Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. You appointed him last week,
He's the most controversial interview I've done.
Just last week. Well, it's a little. I am sorry if it is. My apologies if it is a little controversial there. But let me ask you about Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. You appointed him policy advisor. How did you even conceive the idea of having Dr. Ismaila Ceesay policy advisor? Some say a political science lecturer. Making him policy advisor?
I think you got to understand how I know Dr. Ismaila Ceesay first. He's a guy I've always admired. and a guy, of course, was very prominent in our society, well known in the university, highly admired, and is a political science lecturer, meaning he has a lot of ideas about politics and I guess governance, etc.
But you cannot say policy.
Wait.
You are struggling to say policy.
So I got a phone call from him where he was congratulating me about all the good initiatives KMC has embarked on and all the good things KMC is achieving. And I said, look, we are both young. I think politics should not really divide us. You have good intentions for the country. I want to move this country forward, this municipality. Working together can only bring good things. And I believe in cooperation and collaboration. So he came in and we had a meeting and we discussed. And we discussed in areas he can help. And what he said he could really help on was governance. How to improve decision making, good governance, ensuring that things work administratively. And that's how he came on board. People always make a big deal of everything.
But did you try to ask him?
This is again
when he talked about governance.
We talked about
did you try to ask him in what way he was going to advise you?
We talked about a lot in depth. All right, and we talked about everything from national politics, local governance, national governance. But the point is here, he's coming in on a voluntary basis. He's not being paid anything. He's coming purely to help, probably to build his CV and also get some achievements. But for me, it's about what he can add. If there's areas where he can't add or he excuses himself, that is up to him and his professionalism. And it's up to me to listen to what he has to say and filter what's good and bad, what I can use, what I will not use. And I think this is what we need in Gambia. We need to understand that we're all brothers and sisters. If the president, I'm in UDP, but if he said, Mayor, look, can you come to my office? I want you to advise me on some policy for local governance. I would go and volunteer. Because if he takes it and it's good, and I know it will help the country, why not? So this is the mature politics we need. What does the
Gambia stand to gain when two people of fair complexion, without meaning to be racist, without meaning to be racist, when two fair people combine, what does the Gambia stand to achieve? Without meaning to.
I don't know what that question means. But they say we are both fair, but they say I look better than him. So
you look better than him.
I think he would say not.
Okay.
But I think Gambian is diversity, mixed background people, mixed tribe people, different people. Even when immigrants come to Gambia and they're legally Gambian, we should encourage that participation. I mean, Gambians are trying to live all over the world. We are trying to naturalize all over the world. So why not be accommodative to people who genuinely want to come and build Gambia? What we should not allow is people coming here illegally, people coming here to exploit Gambians, people coming here and trying to beat the system.
I think yesterday the Interior Minister.
But if we have people who genuinely want to come here, genuinely want to live and contribute and invest and be part of our society, I think we should encourage that, because we Gambians are trying to do that all over the world.
Great, but there's a problem, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Dr. Ismaila Ceesay just last Friday, was at the launch of CA, Citizens Alliance. He's now officially or formally a member of a political party.
Yeah.
You are a member of a different political party.
Yeah.
That is this tendency of conflict of interest. How can Dr. Ismaila Ceesay advise you honestly when he is a member of a political party, a different political party at that? Because if that could be detrimental to his party's well-being, of course. If Dr. comes to you and advises you on policy matters and you are excelling, you are doing well in your municipality, the credit goes to you and your party. What is there for him?
Well, look, when Dr. Ismaila was coming here, I already knew he was part of Citizens Alliance and one of the founding members, and I'm not worried about that. I mean, like I said, I have councillors from different political parties. If you saw us chatting and talking, you wouldn't believe. I had a councillor go represent me at a movie premiere last week. I saw the video and he promoted me. And I think this is the genuine nature of politics. We have to look at the country and put it beyond all of us, above all of us. If Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, if he believes if he gives me good advice, that would be detrimental to his party, I think that's his problem and something he needs to worry about.
Not you.
Not me. All right? Also, if I work with Dr. Ismaila Ceesay with any ill intention, that's my problem. But at the end of the day, I have talked to him and I think it's genuine. I felt everything he was saying, and when you saw us together, you would realize that it's just two Gambian guys trying to really do well for the country. And you are comfortable. And I'm confident with what I've seen, and I've felt what he's saying. Now, of course, he's a brilliant guy. I'm not a dumb guy. If I hear advice, you will know whether it's good advice or bad advice. And I don't take advice exclusively from just one person. I take advice from many people. I can ask you for advice today about journalism and media freedoms, and I would go to Panderi and ask him the same advice. I'll go to Peter Gomez and ask him the same advice. Then I filter. That's why I have judgment. I am a leader. I should make judgments. But I think Dr. Ismaila Ceesay is a brilliant young guy. He's genuine as far as I can see. He has good intentions for the country, and undeniably he's passionate about Gambia. So I am young as well. Young guys are the future. We must bring a different kind of politics. We could have had this policy advisor issue and not broadcasted it. We could have kept it under wraps. But we want to broadcast it to show Gambians what it should be like, not what it is. This is how our older politicians, our now leaders should be. We want to see this in this country, where there is no animosity. There's going to be competition, there's going to be rivalry, but there's no animosity. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to head to the same destination. That's why in my speech I say UDP has no enemies. Our enemy is bad governance, corruption. Things that are bad in this country or will turn this country south or will destroy this country. Those things are our enemies. But individuals and political parties, for what? Nothing is worth it.
Talib Ahmed Bensouda, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Mayor.
So much. Thank you,
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.